Hi, I'm Mandy Pryor and welcome to Spotlight on Pittsburgh. Spotlight on Pittsburgh is a program about Pittsburgh's most fascinating people and what they do to make our city an amazing place to live and work. When we come back, I'll introduce you to Renee Colborn from the Turnpike Commission, and later in the episode we'll introduce you to Laural Ziemba, Director of Public Affairs for Range Resources. Hi, and welcome back to Spotlight on Pittsburgh. Renee, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So what can you tell me, you're with the Turnpike Commission, what can you tell me about your role with them and what you do?
Well, I've been working for the Turnpike Commission for about 7 years now, and I started out in their Harrisburg office as the manager of media and public relations. So I was there for about 4 years and did everything from working in Philly on different construction projects and notifying the public about what's happening with those, and going up to Scranton on the Northeastern Extension, and then out here, of course, in this area where we have a lot of construction going on as well. And luckily I was able to move back home because Western Pennsylvania is home. So I moved back here about 3 years ago.
We always end up coming back here.
Exactly, it is. And I kind of wanted to live with my husband again, so it worked out really well.
That works out.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are talking about the Southern Beltway project. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right. Well, that project started long before I ever was employed with the Turnpike Commission, so I had to do a lot of research on how it all got started. And the construction project actually was under construction and kicking off when I got hired here. So that's been a few years where they broke ground for this new section of the Southern Beltway, which is it'll be about 13 miles long, the new section. The Finley connector is already there, and traffic is moving on the Finley connector, and that is out near 22, State Route 22.
And so, where is this new section going to be?
The new section is going to connect 22 to I-79, and it'll be about 16 mile stretch, anywhere between there, but it's going to be a great direct route to the Pittsburgh airport for commuters.
I live in Cecil, so I've seen the pillars starting to go up, and
there's a lot of construction going on in the McDonald area, in Cecil Township, in South Fayette Township, and I'm sure everybody's seen all the orange cones and the construction equipment going through. And we'll be hopefully wrapping up completion with that construction in the fall of 2021, where the roadway will eventually be open to traffic, but with some restrictions at 79, because the intersection or the interchange at 79 won't be fully completed till 2022.
So we have a little bit of time.
We have a little bit of time. We have more construction to go through. There's a lot of bridges being built, as you saw with the piers, and it's just a massive undertaking, and we had to split up the whole construction project into different sections, into like 7 sections right now that they're working in, just because it's such a massive project.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, oh, they just sat at a table one day, it was like, we should put up this highway, and then things happen. So what are some of the struggles that you've gone underway to have this created? What are you facing?
Well, in the design process, that took years and years to design this highway. So we take the designs and we move it to the actual construction. And during construction, of course, we come across some different things that maybe need adjusted somewhat. The biggest obstacle or struggle was when we were in the McDonald area, and last year was the wettest year on record in this area. So we struggled with the weather. There was a lot of flooding issues and just landslides in this whole area, I think, have been prominent. But the wet weather really played a factor. But everything was corrected. We have retention ponds in, and we seem to have it all under control now. So it worked out.
Sometimes it might be good to have it done in the preliminary stages
Right.
than when it's actually up and running.
Right.
So when do you think, or when will, I guess projected, will the Southern Beltway open?
It's going to open to traffic in the fall of 2021, but with restrictions at 79, you won't be able to go south on 79 to get to the Southern Beltway, and you won't be able to go west onto 79 whenever you are leaving the Southern Beltway. Just those two restrictions until 2022, but the entire road will be open to traffic in the fall of 2021. And between 79 and State Route 50, it'll be free of tolls. So that's a bonus.
So wait, repeat that one more time.
Repeat that. Yeah, there won't be any tolls between Interstate 79 and State Route 50 on the Southern Beltway.
Okay, ever or just in the beginning stages?
Well, right now we have no plans to toll it. So, but from 50 on to the airport, there'll be 3 tolling locations. And this is going to be a cashless tolling roadway,
Okay.
which means no cash will be taken. You'll either use Easy Pass, which a lot of people do have in the area already, or you will be billed with a toll by plate method. And the toll by plate means that if you don't have Easy Pass, they'll take a picture of your license plate as you're using the roadway, and you'll get a bill in the mail for the toll that you
Kind of like
yeah.
if you use the Easy Pass and don't have an Easy Pass.
True, it's the same thing, only the toll by plate rate will be,
The same.
no, it'll be more expensive.
It'll be more
Yeah,
expensive.
it's cheaper to use Easy Pass.
I know a lot of other states have adopted that in the past, so I can understand.
That's true.
Cash is, I understand both sides. So people seeing construction, sometimes there aren't people located at the construction sites, but things are still restricted. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right, we have construction zones set up, and this is not just for the Southern Beltway, it's like anywhere on the Turnpike. If you see orange cones, sometimes you don't see people actually working there at the time because either their shift is over or it's in the evening or whatnot. But those cones and that speed is limited because those lanes are more narrow than they usually are. There are barriers up and the lanes are narrow. So we want traffic going slowly through there just because of a safety factor. So if you don't see anybody there, it doesn't necessarily mean that nobody's working there, because eventually they will be. It just depends on the shift work and that kind of thing. But always be aware of the speed limit. And even though there's nighttime work and daytime work, I mean, they all work in shifts, so you have to be aware of that. And those people put their lives on the line every day out there on the roadway, and they don't want, cars going by them at 70, 75 miles an hour.
I mean, the signs that say my dad or my
Right.
mom work here definitely.
It hits home, right?
It does. People, it makes
They
you
have
think.
families, right? They all have families just like we do, and they want to get home to them safely. So we're hoping that people obey those speed limit signs particularly.
And so, construction season, obviously, we call it winter construction in Pittsburgh. So what other projects are going on in the area that,
We have widening projects, but right now, I mean, after the winter months, there's a lot of pothole patching on the main line. We have a lot of that going on where you see a single lane pattern and we're patching them or we're resurfacing. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, so we ask people to be patient, but we're just trying to make the roadway better, whether we're patching potholes or resurfacing the roadway altogether.
and is there anything else that I haven't touched upon that maybe you would like to bring up about either the Southern Beltway, what the idea is behind the Beltway, I guess, and
Right. Well, we were mandated by the state legislature to build this highway, so I don't think a lot of people do realize that. And as far as our commitment is concerned, we are definitely going to have that road built by 2021, 2022 to be finished. So that factors in to letting people understand like where this all started, and this was back in the 80s when this project even began. So we're nearing the completion date.
That's great.
Right.
People think it happens so fast, which the construction actually happens for as big of a project as it is.
It's an $800 million project, so
it's happening pretty fast. I mean, not as fast as, say, a mattress store going up, but,
right.
but it is amazing. How can people get more information about the Southern Beltway?
They would go to our website at paturnpike.com, and you would click on design and construction, and all the major roadway projects are listed there. So that's where you can find out about the Southern Beltway, any projects along the main line. So you can easily click on each one.
Well, and as we watch the project continue in our neighborhoods, it's important to get information about how far it's projecting, if there's any changes and everything.
There's a whole page dedicated to Southern Beltway with weekly updates on that page, so people can watch the progress as it moves forward.
That's great. Thanks so much. We'll bring you back out in a little bit when Laural comes on, and thanks for all of your information.
Certainly.
To find out more about Renee and the Southern Beltway, as she said, go to paturnpike.com. We'll share the actual design website with you at the end of the show. We'll be back in a moment. Hi, and welcome back to Spotlight on Pittsburgh. We have Laural here from Range Resources. We can't wait to hear a little bit more about what she does within the community. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Mandy.
Of course. So tell me a little bit about Range Resources.
Sure. Well, we're a natural gas developer. We're the largest natural gas developer in Washington County. My role in particular is public affairs. So any type of communication our company has with our local communities, any type of fundraising, nonprofit partnerships, those are all managed under my team.
Wonderful. And so I guess tell me a little bit about some community projects you have going on right now or in the recent past.
Okay. So I like to think of it in terms of the 3 10s. Over the last 10 years, we've invested $10 million in the local community, and that includes 10,000 employee volunteer hours. So we're very blessed to have a wonderful workforce who is very philanthropic minded, very civic minded, and they're always willing to share some of their time in addition to the money that we invest. So whenever we look at a nonprofit potential partner, writing a check and walking away is not something that is of interest to us. We want to create a deeper, richer relationship that, yes, in many times involves a monetary commitment, but whenever we have an employee who can invest some sweat equity, which really means a lot to the nonprofits, we'll do that as well. So it's a combination of volunteer hours. We help out on boards and committees. So we're really invested and involved in the local community as well.
That's wonderful. And you think of bigger companies as they're so many people and so many things going on that they get lost a little bit within the community. So it's great to have that public footprint. And people are looking for good things to do.
And you should. It's what you should do. It's what is expected of you. And we get a lot of joy out of it as well. And for instance, underneath that umbrella of public affairs, I would say our first priority would be our workforce development partnerships with our local school districts. And an example of that commitment is the Junior Athena workshop that we did last week. And we brought 80 young women high school students into our building, and we did a morning session that involved a speaker from California University. We did a panel discussion with several local women professionals. We also had Commissioner Diana Irie Vaughn speak to these young women. So it was really, I grew up an only child. And I didn't make the network that I should have in high school. So I think when you think about these young women and men and we have such a wealth and a treasure of women professionals, men professionals. If you can connect them with the high school students, that's really going to do the student a service as they pursue career options.
I would be right there with you on that kind of muddling around in high school and not really knowing the path. So it's great that you guys are taking on that almost responsibility to have them learn and achieve and grow as, girls into women.
Well, and it's a really big charge when you're in high school and you think, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And you've got all this pressure on you that I have to make a right choice, and I can't make a mistake. But my goodness, I went to Duquesne University for communications, and I didn't get a job in communications. I mean, I managed restaurants, I managed real estate. I did whatever it took to get me where I wanted to go. And that's what we tried to impress upon these young women, is that, you don't have to have all the answers. You're not going to have your dream job, is not going to be your first job, but true success is resiliency and just that persevering. That's what true success is. So you'll get there. Just
get there.
Keep focused.
Yeah, I had the same background, just to being an English major. People are always an English major.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And I was like, well, I don't want to teach, and it's experiences. You need these experiences to build together. And I go, one day you'll wake up and go, oh, that all made sense.
That all made sense, exactly. All the dots connected, and here you are, and especially where you are, where I'm happy. I'm sure you're happy,
I'm happy
too.
So what other community outreach have you been doing?
Well, there are two other things that I wanted to mention too. When we look at our public affairs outreach, our community outreach, we have these things called community advisory panels, because it's really important. I've read books on communications, and what's a good communication strategy, and what's the secret? The secret, I'll look at this, is being honest, is telling the truth, being honest, being transparent, being accessible, having the community able to associate a face with a name, and it being available and letting them know who they need to reach out to whenever they have an issue or a problem. So we have these community advisory panels, and we like to encourage two-way communication with them. We really like to hear about what's going on in the community. What are you hearing? Who do we need to reach out to? What maybe messaging isn't really resonating? Or is there a problem? Is there extra dust on this street? Do we need to go out there and do some dust mitigation? So the community advisory panels really help us reach into the community and have a two-way conversation. But then we also have these things called coffee breaks. And these coffee breaks, we bring our employees out into a township, and we have coffee, we have donuts, we have food from a local business, and then we invite our landowners in. They're open to the public. We let them ask questions. We present to them, this is where a well pad is coming up, and this is going to be the route to that pad, and this is when we're going to be building that pad. So you may see an uptick in traffic this week or this month, because they're our partners. We have thousands and thousands of landowners who are partners, and just the communities in general. Even if you're a landowner, it's important to share that information ahead of time, so nobody's surprised, or to the extent that they aren't surprised with your operations.
Well, and community education is important.
It is,
especially when it comes to what you're doing, because it is affecting. You're out there in the communities doing things. So if they feel connected to the projects and understand why it's happening, they're going to feel better about it and say, oh, I understand, because it's new. It's not something that they've experienced in the past. Details are important.
Totally agree. And even if it's not good news you're sharing, if you're sharing it, if you're being upfront and as immediate as you can with it, then they really appreciate that type of respect that you're giving them by communicating. And I'll even say we answer about 300 requests every year for our philanthropic dollars. We get about 500 or 600 every year. Those other 200, we don't ignore them. We give you a response, and we've had so many people say, thank you for just responding. I'm sorry you couldn't support me, but thank you for just responding. So we really effort to make that personal touch with everybody that reaches out to us.
So recently you won an award.
I did.
You are the Woman Influencer of the Year?
Woman of Influence.
Or Woman of Influence. Tell me a little bit about that award.
Well, that was conferred by the Pittsburgh Business Times, and it was a huge honor. But we don't do anything on our own. When you've heard people say it takes a village, and I think who I am is a reflection of all the strong women that have either helped raise me, my mom and my aunt, or friends that I know, or teachers. You're kind of a reflection of all those collective experiences. So that was really meaningful for me, and it really made me recognize all the people that have kind of helped me along the way.
Sure. I mean, you're in your position, especially, you're the brave one who will be put in front of others to say all of the things.
Yeah.
But there's so many different hands behind you helping you to kind of achieve that.
It takes a team. You can't do anything on your own.
Well, is there anything else that I haven't mentioned that you would like to talk about or share?
I just have two other things that they're partnerships that I want to talk about. Getting further than just writing checks, we like to create special experiences. So 3 things that we're really proud of are our first responder investment that we have through the Washington County Community Foundation. We have made $126,000 of grants through first responders. Our service companies were a part of that. And then City Mission, we have a softball game where our employees play their clients. We're doing that at the Wild Things field. And then Greater Washington County Food Bank, we have a big food drive every fall. So we try to get creative and fun with some of our
You're doing a lot in the community. Well, we thank you so much for all of your efforts.
Thank you.
We'll bring you back out with Renee in just a moment.
Sounds great.
Learn more about Range Resources and their ongoing community efforts by going to rangeresources.com. We'll see you back in a moment. Hi, and we are back with 2 extraordinary women. I'm so glad to have you both on the show today. I know that you had spoken a lot about a community engagement, and we wanted to touch base with you, as I believe you are doing a lot as well.
Right, that's how the whole construction project gets kicked off. Each section we have a community outreach event in the location where we're starting a construction project, and I agree with you. That's the most important thing, is to get out there and talk to the public about what is happening, what's going to happen in their neighborhood, what can they expect through construction and beyond. So we are there, and usually we get anywhere from 50 to 100 people who show up per meeting, and they're concerned about obviously what's going to happen in their backyard. Sure. What are the detours that are going to be happening, and it's best. I really agree with you there, to be transparent and open and tell them, hey, this is going to be like 2 years out of your lives. It's going to be crazy. So, but once it's done, and it's going to be a big benefit to the community.
Well, to bolt on to what Renee said, and it angers me too, there's no worse way to start your morning than when there's a detour or there's a water truck in front of you and our water trucks do the speed limit, and we get complaints because you're going the speed limit. I got to get to work. But I think, like you said, if they're aware and know what to expect, you're not surprised that Monday morning when you're on your way to work and it's like, oh, it's construction.
Right. Construction vehicles, and obviously, yes, they do slow a commute down, but it's a necessary evil to get the project, finished.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. So, how did you get involved at the Turnpike Commission?
Oh, it was quite the experience. I mean, I worked in television before this at KDK and at WQED. And as with everything, there's a lot of layoffs that go on in television media. And I was freelancing at the time when the job opening came up in Harrisburg. And I really had to make a big decision whether I wanted to move out to Harrisburg and leave my family for a little while. And
that's a tough decision.
It was a tough decision. And it was a great opportunity that I didn't want to pass up. And it fit all of my qualifications, all of my experience and everything. So I thought, this is checking all the boxes for me. So I got to jump at it. And it took me 4 years to get back to this area, but it was well worth it.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we love our area.
Yeah,
We
we
do.
do. Well, Cecil's voted the best place to live in Pennsylvania.
Well, I'm glad I live
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's right. I heard you say you're from Cecil, so am I.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for coming on. We'll have all of the details on our social media pages as well as shared out, obviously, on the community TV station coming up on Comcast and Verizon. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Spotlight on Pittsburgh, and thank you for continue watching. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Spotlight on Pittsburgh, and join us again next time when we shine the spotlight on 2 new guests.